Okay, we discussed about how to create dimensions hierarchies in SSAS. Now, in this session, let's cover a couple of topics related to the dimensions as well as deployment. So first, currently, whenever we click on process, okay, it will go to the local host. I mean, the analysis services that is installed on the local computer, and it will deploy or create the database and process the database with the name of the solution like adventureworks underscore DW. Because when you open a new application, then the default properties that will be taken to the server name and the database name will be the server name will be the local host. That means it will be deploying to the local server. And if it doesn't find any local server, then it will say there is no server found on the local computer. And the database name will be the solution name, what you can see on top of this on my screen now. AdventureWorks underscore DW is the solution name that I have given. Let me quickly process it. There were some building errors. Let me check that quickly. Looks like the XML is corrupt. That means the database is corrupt. Okay. Let me do one thing. Local. This is default values. So the database which we are using which we used in the last sessions got corrupt. That's why it's throwing that error message. I'm gonna delete it, and our new database name from here is AdventureWorks. So this is successful now. And this corruption, a lot of reasons for this corruption, and we will discuss about the corruption too in the coming sessions. Now I created one database with a new name. The name is AdventureWorks. So to see the same, you need to go to SSMS and connect to SQL Server Analysis Services from SSMS. Let it open. Okay, and I need to select Analysis Services on server type, and the server name is Moksha. Click on Connect, and you can see the two databases. This is the old one which we were using till last session, and it is corrupted now, so I don't need it anymore. Let me delete this guy. And the next one is the freshly created, the one which I have processed just now is AdventureWorks. So it is as easy as this to creating a copy of the database, and you just need to change the name of the database and process it. It will create a copy of it. For example, if I go to the process again underscore DW, and if I click on OK, now if I process it, the database will be created with the name of DW, or if it is already exists in the server, then it will overwrite and it will deploy the latest structure that is on your application. So this is also succeeded. Let me go to the SQL Server Management Studio again, and if I click on refresh, you can see two databases. So there are many ways to copy the database from one server to another server, or from the same server to the same server. But this is only one of those ways, and we will be discussing a lot of deployment methods. We call it as deployment, like deploying the project to the server. And this is most important thing, because once you develop your application, you need to deploy it to the multiple servers, like deploying to the QA box, deploying to the testing server, and deploying to the production server, deploying to the pre-production server. So you need to deploy to the different servers. So you need to know how to deploy. And this is one basic way which is not frequently used, but yeah, it's also used by the team, okay, analysis services team. So just to give you an idea, this is how you need to change the database. And to change the server name, you need to provide the new server name here. For example, let's say we have a network of computers. These computers are connected in the intranet. Okay, intranet means like if you have access, then you can access files from the different computers that are connected in the same. It's more like a software company or project setup. So in the project, there, let's say there are 10 members working in a project, then all the systems will be in the intranet, and people can access the server installed on the other computers if they have correct permissions. Now, let's say this is my machine and I developed an application in this machine. And if I want to deploy it to this particular machine, then what I need to do is I have to open the properties window instead of localhost. Localhost means where my application is or where I open my application. So instead of that, I need to provide the server name where I want to deploy. For example, in this current case, instead of localhost, it will be the computer name of this. So if I provide this computer name, then what it will do is it will connect to the server if there is any analysis server installed on the server, the name that that I'm gonna give here, and it will take this database name and it will check if there is already a database with this name, and if it is already available, then it will overwrite, or else it will create a new database and process the database. So this is about deploying to the different server. This is the basic method of deploying to the other servers. Now let's say the another server name where I want to deploy. The current one is Moksha. If I give the server name as Moksha, it will go and deploy in my current system because my current computer name is Moksha. So this is as equal as giving localhost. Or if I want to deploy to, let's say, XYZ system or server, then what I need to do is just the server name. And you have to make sure that you have proper permissions to create the database and to process the database on the particular server. Okay, let's see an example how we can make sure that we have proper access to the server. So to do that, there are multiple ways. The easiest way is like go to SQL Server Management Studio, click on connect and give the server name here. Let's say the server name is Diksha. Give the server name and click on connect. If you have access to the server, it will connect. Or if the server has some issue or the server is not running, it will throw this error. Or if the server does not, you don't have permission to the server, then also it will throw some different error. I'll be showing that error shortly. So if you see any error like this, then you have to escalate to the admin guy, OLAP admin, asking to check why you are not able to access to the server, and just tell the details or tell the purpose that you need to deploy the database analysis service database to the server, and hence you require admin access. Now to demonstrate the same, what I'm gonna do here is if I go to the properties of the server under security, I can see my name as server administrators. So if I remove this guy as server administrator, now I'm nothing. And if I go here and if I connect, I can connect, but I am not the server admin. You need server admin access to deploy the projects or create the new databases on the server. Let me show you an example. So far I created two databases. One is Adventures Works and another one is Adventure Works DW. And I'm gonna create one more on my local host, that is Moksha server, with the name underscore OLAP. Okay, I click on OK, and if I click on process, it's asking me to build and deploy the project first. I did yes, and if I click on no, either the Moksha slash Rupesh user does not have permission to create a new object in Moksha, or the object does not exist. So what the server is saying, what the error message is saying is like the user Rupesh does not have access, right, privilege to create an object on the analysis server, because I'm not the server admin. You need to be server admin to create the object or database, whatever. So why it is taking Rupesh? Because I logged into the computer with this ID and I opened the AdventureWorks TW with the application with this ID, right? I can do one thing. I can simply go here And one second. Let me go to search data tools, and I can open this using administrator. So here I'm not using this bits or SQL Server data tools BI as Rupesh. Instead of that, I'm running this SQL Server data tools as an administrator. Now if I open this project from here, it will be like under administrator account. You can see on top, can you see where I'm highlighting? This is opened as administrator, and this is not opened as administrator, the one which is showing error. Now let me go here and go to the properties, and now it's OLAP. Let me try to deploy as an administrator. So if I process, it's trying to deploy and deployed successfully, and it's also processing successfully, right? So the thing here is you need to be administrator to deploy a database to the analysis server. Okay, and you can see, oops, it is not showing any database. The reason is I logged into the SSMS with my ID, and my ID does not have access to any of the database because I am not the administrator. Again, the same technique. I need to go to management uh, tools, and remember, this will not work in production or in your project environment. Okay, so there you need to have a server admin access or DBO access to access the database from analysis server. You need to request further. Here again I'm connecting as server administrator, and you can see I can see the databases, all the three databases now. If you see the SSMS, I connected as administrator. Here it is not administrator, that's why I'm not seeing the databases. So the important thing here is you need to be administrator to deploy the project or to create a new database on the analysis server. I'm going to give access to my ID, my account again. So I'm going to security. I'm clicking on add Rupesh. Okay. Okay. And remember one thing, you are not allowed to make everyone as administrator. If you make everyone as administrator, then he can simply go here and restart the server, or he can do whatever he wants. He will have complete control on the analysis server. So don't make every guy as administrator. Now let me close all the SQL Server data tools as well as SSMS which I opened as administrator, and because I added myself as administrator, I've given admin privilege to my account. Now you can see this is not the data tools which I opened as administrator, and this is not the SSMS which I opened as administrator. Now let me click on reconnect because I got full access, right? So admin access, so I should be able to see the databases, right? And I should be able to deploy. So the key getaway from this one is like you should have admin access if you want to create something new on the server or modify the structure on the server for all the stuff. So modifying the structure is fine, but creating the new, you need to have admin access for the same. Now I am able to process the database on the server. Okay, it's successful. And let me go back and change the database name to DW. So this is the error if you will get if you are not the server admin on the server where you want to deploy the new database, analysis service database. And once you see the error, just write a mail to DVA asking for right right access to the server to your account. Again, now let's go back to the dimensions. So we have seen how to create a dimension using the existing tables, and let's see how we can make use of generate a timetable in the data source and generate a timetable on the server, generate a non-time table in the data source, and so on. So first, what is this timetable and why so much importance to the timetable? You can see there are different options to create the timetable on the server, which can be used as date, time, dimension. Now the reason is for any analysis service project, people want to analyze their business or data based on for over a period of time. Like if you see a lot of calculations or a lot of reports, it will be comparing the sales year on year, month on month, date on date, and quarter on quarter, and so on. So that is why timetable, and I don't see many databases without the date dimension. Such an important one is date dimension in analysis services or in any analytical tools. Okay, and in our case, in the AdventureWorks GW, you can see there is already a time date table that is a dim date time, I think. So we created one date dimension on top of it. Here you can see we created a date dimension which we can use for our analysis purpose. Now let's see how to create a timetable on the in the data source if there is no um, date dimension table in your underlying database. And this is easy. I mean, you can create the structure and you can load the data in the server table in the data source table, because the data of the datetime table is universal. If it is Jan in India, and the same it will be Jan in America too, right? And the month number for January is 1 in India, and it won't be 15 or 27 in US. So it will be the same. So the data remains the same wherever you go. So that is universal data, right? That is common across the universe. That is why uh, Microsoft has provided an option to create the template as well as to load the data for the datetime dimension table in the underlying database. Let's see how it will go. And for that, let me click on next. And here it is asking me to select what time periods I want uh, as columns in my datetime table. I want to see the data based on year, half year, 10 days, month, week, and everything. And here it is asking from where to where you want to load the data. I want data from 2010. Let's assume you can give whatever dates you want. And I want data till 2020. Click on next, or you can select which type of calendar you want. I want English calendar. Click on next. And what calendar do you want? Regular only or physical calendar too, or reporting calendar? It's just like the calendar start date will be moving. Apart from that, it's almost the same. For example, I have 12 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So if my calendar is regular calendar, the January and February and March will be the first quarter, right? This is quarter 1, this is quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. If I go for physical calendar, the year starts somewhere in the mid of the year or at the month of April. Let's say it started at from the July. So this will be July, August, September will be quarter 1. This will be quarter 2, and next year Jan, Feb, March will be quarter 3, and April, May, June will be quarter 4. And here this will be quarter 3 of previous year and quarter 4 of previous year or earlier year. So this is how the physical calendar and the physical calendar and the regular calendar. The difference is the start date will be changing, and hence you need to start everything from there, like quarter, semester, trimester, and everything will be starting from there. So here, let me erase the drawing. So that is the difference. And even reporting calendar, it's the start week and month you will be specifying. So from there it will start and it will take the count of quarters and months. So click on next, and it's asking for some name. I'll give the name as time, and you can see it has taken all the attributes whatever I have selected. I selected for year level and so on, year level, semester level, quarter level, 10 days level, and so on. And it has created all the possible hierarchies. So these are possible hierarchies, and click on finish. And here you can see, if I go to the tree structure, you can see a dimension is created with all the attributes selected and lot of hierarchies. This is a hierarchy at regular calendar year, and this is another hierarchy, this is another hierarchy which will be showing the data at week, year, week, and date. and this is hierarchies on physical years. Physical year, as I said, it is starting from different level, right? So it created everything except the data source view. The data source view is saying that click here to generate the data source view. There is no table, no physical table with the name time. We just given the schema, we just given the required attributes and the hierarchies. That is why based on that it has created the time dimension. Now if I click here, it will start creating the data in the database, table in the database, and load the data into the database table, and it will add the table into the data source view, and the data source view table will be referred in this place in the data under the data source view of the dimension. You know, right? And the right pane, we will have three panes in the dimension. One is attributes, second one is hierarchies, and the third one is um, data source view table. Now let it finish. It is completed, and you can see the table has been shown in the data source view. And if I go to the data source view, you can see the table is created here. I can drag and drop the table, and this is just like another table because now the analysis server has created the table on the database also. Let's see whether the table is created in the underlying database. For that, I'm connecting to database engine. Click on S, and I think I created a table named time. You can see the table name is time here. Select top 1000 rows. You can see the table created with all the columns and all the data loaded, and it is starting from 2010 to 2020 December. So it has created everything now, and you can see all the column data is filled, and this data really it's very useful data. What people will do is they'll take the help of analysis server to create this table, and then they'll modify few columns like adding extra column or removing extra column with the help of store process and so on. So you can see date name is there, and year is there, year name is there, calendar 2020, and half year there is a proper name for that one too, half year, and so on. Similarly, quarter, trimester, month, 10 days, 10 days name. See, every month will have 10 days. First 10 day will have first 10 days, second 10 day will have 10 days will have second 10 days, and third 10 days will have either 11 if it is Jan, or 8 if it is Feb, or 10 or if it is March or April, so something like that. Last remaining days will be added to the third 10 days. And day of the half year name, in the half year this is the 61st day, and day of the trimester it's 122, and name is so and so. Day of the quarter is 61. So if you see, it gives lot of columns and lot of options which you can use for the process, for your analysis purpose. So it makes the creation of datetime table pretty easy with this, right? It's damn easy now. But the only problem is the key columns are little different. It won't give a surrogate key, kind of like the key with the integer values. It will always say the date. Even for year, if you see, it's 2020-1-01, and even for half year it's like 2020-0701. So something like that. That's the only problem. Okay, apart from that, this will have lot of information that is required to analyze your analysis service project based on time, based on periods. That is one option. Let me show you the next option here. Well, when you go on create the new dimension, you can see generate a timetable on the server. If you see here, create a time dimension directly on the server without an underlying data source. That means if I click on next, and I'm going to provide the same information. Let's say I'll go till 20, and I'll select only, let's say, year, quarter, half year, month. I don't want 10 days, I want week, and I'll go with only regular calendar, and I'll name it as time on server. If I click on finish, based on the attributes that I have selected, it has picked the database table and created the database table and created the hierarchies possible. And the only difference is, if you see the time periods, it is saying the time periods, and it's loading whatever the time period that we have selected. We selected standard, and these are the physical. If you want, you can use it, and these are the reporting. If you want, you can use it. So something like this. Now I created my dimension without creating the time table on the underlying data source. And if I process it, okay, it may take some time to process, deploy and process. Okay, once I process it, I can access it just like any other dimension on the analysis server. So then let me go here and go to the browser, and if I select the hierarchy, you can see the hierarchy at calendar, semester, quarter, and month and day level. So this is how you can create a timetable or time dimension by using the timetable on the data source or timetable from the server. Now we have one more option, that is generate a non-timetable in the data source. So what this guy will do is this guy will create a template on the server. It's not going to load the data because analysis server does not know what kind of accounts you have, or what is the customer information that you have, or what is the department information you have, or what is the reseller information or sale information you have, product information you have. What it will do is it will just create the template. It will give you a hint like what are all the columns that may be required to create a product table, or to create a customer table, or to create an account table. So it's gonna give you little help, little push kind of. So let's go with the account template, and it's giving the options, and click on next, and it is asking whether it's a changing dimension or not. No. And the key name is account. Okay, fine. Click on next, and it's saying these are the things that are required. That can be used under the account number, account type, and account. So this is pretty small one. Let me go with a bigger table, a template which has more number of columns. Let me go with product, and if I click on next, it will say what are the attribute types. If this is product category, regular, and dimension attribute, fine. If you click on next, you can see these are the columns, and these are the hierarchies that you can create if you want to design a product dimension. But it won't load the data just like timetable which we worked a couple of minutes back, because the data is universal and it won't change from region to region. That is why it has loaded the data. But here in this case, the product information will be varying from company to company, right? So it has created the empty dimension, and if I click on generate the data source view, then it will go and it will check just like other one, and validating blah blah blah. The name I have given is product, right? Data loss will occur, and I'm saying cancel, and it's saying generation failed because of the data loss. The table which I have created just now is going for a toss, the timetable. That's why I created cancel. Or if you want to go ahead with this, and it will create that. But the problem is I think it will erase the timetable on that one. You have to be careful. So now let me go to select star from product which I have just created, and if you execute it, you can see it has created the template, and it's your job, or your ETL job has to load the data into this product table. It is going to give you a hint, or it's going to give you a little help on designing the product template, or designing an account template, or designing the customer template, and so on. Okay, but it's your job to load the information to this. But the datetime is different. So when you select the datetime, it will do the job for you of data loading, because it knows the data what it has to load onto the uh, data source table. Again, now let's see the next option we have. We have a new link dimension. Let's see how to create link dimension. What is link dimension? Let's say you have a server here, and you have a database D, and you have another server, and you have a database D1. So if any one of the dimension, or let's say 10 dimensions that you want from here, I mean it's common between these two databases, then what you can do is you can create a link, and you can use the dimension here in this database. The dimension that is available in D database can be used in D1 database. So I'm creating a link to that. So data will be available here only, and whenever you query the particular dimension data in this database, what it will do is it will use the link to get the data from here to here, from here to here, and it will display the result in the output. So it's more like having a link to another server, or it's more like having a shortcut. Normally, you know, right, how to create a shortcut, right? It will be referring to that. So the same way, it will be referring to the dimension on the another server. And remember, the servers can be same. Let's say I have only one server. I have a database 1 and I have database 2. I can use the dimension of this database in this database, so using the option linked dimensions. And let's see how to create the link dimensions and what are the challenges you are going to face while creating the link dimensions and how to overcome that. So first, let me click on next. And the first thing is like make sure where I am, on which database I am. I'm in AdventureWorks DW, okay, and how many databases are there on my server? I have 3 databases, and let me delete this guy. I just maintain 2 databases, so I'm gonna create one more. So AdventureWorks DW is one default database, and I'm gonna create one more database, AdventureWorks OLAP, without account dimension. Okay, so try to understand here. So I'm processing a database. Oops, one second. No dimension relationship exists. Oops. 1 second. I need to provide some, at least one relationship. I should not have deleted account. Okay, let me add a time dimension. Not a problem. Just give me a minute, guys. I need to have at least one dimension which is linked to the fact table, or else it will throw this error. Okay. Click on next and finish. And let me go to the cube and provide the relationship. We'll be discussing about these relationships mostly in the next session. So till then, okay. Now it is ready to deploy. Process. So I have 2 databases. One is AdventureWorks DW and another one is AdventureWorks DW OLAP. Now in OLAP database, I don't have account dimension, right? I don't have account dimension, but in the other database, I do have account dimension. If you see here, I have account here, but I don't have account in the other one. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get that account dimension into this particular database, into the database AdventureWorks underscore DW underscore OLAP. In short, here if you see the dimensions, I don't have account dimension. So I'm trying to use this account dimension here in this one. Okay, let's see how to do that. Add new dimension. Add new link dimension. Click on next, and it will ask me for which data source or where we have that analysis service dimension which I can link to. So click on new data source, click on next, click on new. Here if you see, it is pointing to analysis server, and select the server name Moksha and select the database name from where you want to get that. AdventureWorks DW is the database where we have that account dimension which we want to refer here. Click on next, go for server credentials, and I'll name it as AdventureWorks DW source. This acts as my source. Okay, now continue to go next and select what is the dimension that you want to go ahead with. I want to go ahead with account dimension, and you can see the account dimension has been added. So now when I click on this dimension, it says that this structure of the account dimension cannot be modified because it's a link dimension. I just created a link to the account dimension from the database AdventureWorks OLAP to the database. sorry, I have a connection from here. So I linked it from here to the database dimension that is available in the AdventureWorks DW, and the name is account. So you can't do much here. You can't set the properties. You can't play with this dimension. Now let's try to process this dimension. What you can do is you can just quickly process it, and you can see the process is succeeded because it will be processed on the source. It will not be processed here. Um, So nothing here to do, like reading the data from the relational database and pushing it to the analysis, so nothing will happen. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna use this dimension to give relationship in my cube. For that, let me click on add new dimension account, and if I go to the dimension here, I need to give the relationships, and if I select regular and it is account key, is there anything called account key here? If not, then that I have selected wrong dimension. I should have selected the better one. So what you will do is, like normally you will get the key column. Let's say the account is not the best example here in this case, because the fact table that I have used here does not have relationship here. That is the problem. Let me select any other measure group which has relationship to this account, or I think this account is something which we created. So this is more like junk dimension. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create one more, or I'm gonna add one more dimension to the existing database AdventureWorks DW, and I'm gonna link it with that particular dimension. For that, first what I need to do is I need to open SQL Server Data Tools, and I'm connecting to the already existing database AdventureWorks DW. So Moksha is the server where I have the database that I want to change, and AdventureWorks DW. Okay. Now let me add, this is something that the dimension which we created and added, and there is no links also, there is no data also in the database. So click on next, and I'm using an existing table. I'm taking, let's say, product. Okay, I'm using product table to create product dimension, and click on finish, and let me deploy this guy. Now I'm gonna create link to the product dimension. Let's see how it works. Oops. Some table names which I created yesterday are not available today. So let me delete these guys. Even this account doesn't make any sense here. Okay, they should be fine. Let me process it. I've created some tables during the demonstration of some um, concepts. So those tables are deleted after that, and I didn't clear it in the queue. Now if you see, there is a dim product dimension in the AdventureWorks DW. Now I'm gonna use that in AdventureWorks DW underscore OLAP, and you can see the server name I pointed to, I mean the database name that I pointed to is AdventureWorks DW underscore OLAP. So the same concept, I'm using link dimension. Click on next. Oops, sorry. I have to select the new link dimension and click on next. And yeah, that is fine. Click on next, and here it is, dim product. Click on next and click on finish. So the dimension is added just like we added account a couple of minutes back. And let me go to the cubes here. I'm gonna add that dimension, newly added link dimension, to my cube. Okay, and then I have to give the relationship. If I go to the relationship, product key and product key, that's it, done. Now we're gonna encounter a couple of issues. Let's see one by one, and let's try to solve one by one. So I said I created I added the link dimension, and I used it in my cube, and I've given relationship. And if I process it, the first error is like oops, that has some problem with the server. That has some problem in the that is the database which got corrupt, and I still use the same. I should have used something else. 1 minute guys, let me correct something which you don't need to worry much at this point of time. Okay, I sorted the corruption issue, and when you process this after adding the link dimension, what will happen is it will throw an error message saying that if you see the error message, it's pretty clear. Errors in metadata manager, the fact internet sales regular measure group cannot be created because it uses the dim product link dimension. So this is the link dimension which we have created on top of dim product from the dimension from the different database. Now, whose unknown property is set to none, it should be either visible or hidden. So the dimension that you are linking to, the source dimension property of property unknown should be set to either visible or hidden, or else it will not work. So what you need to do is you need to go back and connect to the SQL, database in the SQL Server data tools, and I think this is the database. Click on connect, and you have to change the dimension property to, unknown property to either hidden or visible. Let me make it hidden now, and let me deploy it. So this is one issue, the first and foremost issue that you have to address when you want to use the link dimension. The source dimension unknown property should be either hidden or visible. So once I deployed the source database, then let's come back to the one. And the next problem is if you make any change to the dimension on the source, then it won't refresh automatically. What you need to do is you need to delete it and create a link dimension again. Really a painful stuff. Whenever you make a property change on the source, then you need to create the link and you have to add it back. So that's really painful one. And click on next. Click on finish. So now I created the link dimension again. Again, you have to come here to the cube and add the cube dimension. So it's a dim product, right? And then again, you have to come here to the dimension usage and you have to provide the relationship. So this is really painful because whenever you make any change to the cube like this, adding a new dimension like this, then you have to process the whole cube. That is the big problem. Now let me click on process and let's see whether it throws any error or not again. I expect one more error. Let's see. So the first and foremost thing is it should be unknown. The unknown is set in the source. Now let's see what the next error message is. The next error message saying that the property should be set to true. The properties is like linking to other instance and linking from other instance. You can find these properties in SSMS. Once you right click on the server, go to the properties under general, you can see under feature link from other instance enable and link to other instance enable. That means if you set it to true, then only it will allow you to give access to your dimension to the dimension to the database on the other server. So you need to set these two properties to true to make use of the link dimension. I repeat, the first one is unknown member property of the source dimension should be set to either visible or hidden. And the second problem is whenever you process it, whenever you make any change, then you have to delete it and add the dimension back where in the database where you are linking from. And now let me go on try to refresh it. Reprocess it. So if I reprocess it now, you can see the dimension is processed, and once it is successfully processed, the cube and everything, then you can use this dimension just like any other physical dimension, though it doesn't have any physical data in that current database, but it will make use of the link to get the data from the different database. You can see the class is H, L, and M, and the color is so and so, and I can go for product names. So something like this. So this is a link dimension now. Users can't even find out that whether it's a link dimension or a direct physical dimension. I'm linking a dimension from another database to this particular database with the help of new link dimension option. But you have to be very careful if you make any property change in the dimension from where you are getting the data, then you have to delete it and recreate it. Recreate the link dimension and add it back to the cube and give the relationships and everything that is dependent on this dimension should be you have to do rework on the same. So that is most painful thing in using the linked dimensions in SSAS. So the basic concept is linked dimension means it will create a link to the dimension, physical dimension on the another database. So that's about the link dimension, and we have seen a couple of other dimension level properties. We are almost done with dimension designing, and from next session we will be discussing about cube designing and the measure group designing. And there are a couple of properties at the dimension level which we have not gone through, but we will be discussing about those properties once we finish some part of cube designing. Thank you very much, guys. Catch you in next session.